thought I was taping. I wasn't taping. Anyway, today I want to blog about this conversation between Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Malcolm X, and Professor Charles Xavier from the X-Men, and Magneto from the X-Men. And it's funny, I'm on my way to a gun show for the second day. Did some good selling of books at the gun show. Of course, my Harlem Shake series is about survivalists. So a lot of these gun shows are, preppers and survivalists in nature. They're not just getting them for gun domestic protection, So anyway, we have a lot of conversation about different things, and the books sell well. Now, that said, I am now, we dealing with this Malcolm X comparison. And the last time, this is my second gun show, right? So the first gun show that I did, I took a picture standing next to my banner, looking around the corner of the banner like Malcolm X was, I was holding an AK-47, right? Or an M16. I can't remember. I'm not good at guns, and I don't have no problem with that. But I was looking like Malcolm X when he was standing by his door at his house, right? When they were coming to firebomb his house, right? And this comparison that Malcolm X is violent is crazy. First of all, Magneto is a lunatic, okay? Sure, I get that he's Jewish, and I get that he has a motivation and a clear motivation, but he left that, right? I actually argue, and I'm going to tie it into black science fiction, but I actually argue that Magneto is more like Dr. King, and Professor Charles Xavier is more like Malcolm X. And I base it on my experiences with the Nation of Islam, knowing members of it, working with them, attending the events, working on events together. Heck, I took 4 buses to the Million Man March in 96. That's working with the Nation of Islam, and we advocated for it. So, and that was a big deal for them because they had never done a march before, okay? They had never even led a boycott. They never led a sit-in. All of these things are things that Dr. King did. The Nation of Islam does not have a gun club. They didn't vote for years, especially during the time of Malcolm X. Now, they did speak of strength. They did speak of independence. They did speak of, individual dreams and pursuing them and not being controlled, especially by white people and the status quo. But none of that is violent. However, all of that to a white supremacist is threatening, scary, you understand? However, it's all mental strength, and that's all Charles Xavier did. So that, to me, is why I think it's more aligning Malcolm X to Charles Xavier. I also think the funny thing is, like with Dr. King, he was the one that would do something about it. He was the one that made threats and backed them up. He was the one that said, yo, if y'all don't take care of these sanitation workers, I'm calling for a strike. If y'all don't integrate the buses, and don't let us sit anywhere we want to sit, we coming down there and leading the bus boycott. Dr. King was that type of person. Dr. King led sit-ins. Dr. King did something. He didn't fight, y'all. No black group could really fight. The Black Panthers walked around with guns, but they didn't really get into no armed combat and assault anybody. The most gunfight they even had was a defensive gunfight. But again, Malcolm X wasn't any of that, and even with Dr. King, to make him Charles Xavier, here's the comedy in it all. They give Dr. King Charles Xavier, who's in a wheelchair. And what can people in wheelchairs do? Walk. You can't march. And Dr. King was the big marcher. So that's the comedy in it all. But now there's the black sci-fi element, right? I read a lot of sci-fi, and one of the things that we always had a problem with always going back to black film was defining and containing our property, right? So what is a black film, okay? What is black sci-fi? Is a film the characters being black? Is the film the director being black? Is the film the writer being black? Oh my God, we don't know, and it's still been a big discussion. Is it the story being about a black experience, right? I don't know. All of that I think is important. And to me, the most core important thing is the story. Who creates the story, right? So it can be black sci-fi if it's about white people, possibly. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So now, reading a lot of sci-fi, white writers aren't exclusive to writing about white characters. And like Robert Heinlein, many times they have stories that include black characters in their stories. Their thoughts and dreams and speculations of what black characters would do are in their stories. So the same thing with Malcolm X and Dr. King, the assumption of what Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King would do is there in their projection of Charles Xavier and Magneto. Now, I don't think Stan Lee based them on that, but at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people are thinking. I think, like in a lot of white-written black post-apocalypse stories, they think that, you know, the black revolutionaries are going to oppress white people. They're going to kill white people. And to me, that's the foundation of white supremacy, or one of the foundational blocks. I'm going to a gun show. A lot of these white militias are not just only scared of the government, right? They're also scared of integration. They're scared of people of color. They're scared of what they think America will be like if it becomes a majority people of color country. They say, oh my God, they're gonna oppress us. They don't say it outright, and I don't go to the meetings, but it's definitely expressed in their science fiction, in their post-apocalyptic expressions. And so I think it is also consistent with this portrayal of Magneto and how people are quick to assume it is Malcolm X. Okay, now I also think that, you know, Minister Farrakhan and Nation Islam is already classified as a hate group. Now, I don't consider them a hate group, right? Any more than, you know, a Jewish group that speaks about Jewish pride. That's all the Nation of Islam speaks. They don't even say we're the chosen ones. They just say, you know, this is who we are. Jewish groups sometimes go all over. Not all Jewish groups, but there's some Jewish groups that go fanatical with that chosen one stuff and calling the rest of us not chosen and a whole lot of other things. So I don't think they're hate groups, even though they have a strong sense of pride and strong feeling of love. I think to portray Malcolm X as a loose cannon fanatic like Magneto is to make people feel easier to describe the Nation of Islam as not only a hate group, but as we move to classify the Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacist groups as the terrorists that they are, the organizations that burn cross, terrorize people, bomb churches, or at least their members do, and people that are familiar with them, the skinheads. You know, they you know, if you go into American History X, their former members say a lot of things, and they're accusing them a lot of things that black people don't even know in terms of having to kill person of color to become a member. All right. So as we're trying to classify those groups as the terrorist groups that they are, people are, you know, there's also a movement to put the Nation of Islam into that conversation. And I'm not a member of the Nation of Islam, but I know they ain't violent. They are the security guards to make sure that we don't fight. They barely vote. And voting is an act of power, a use of power. They don't even use that, many of them. And I think they just started. It was a big deal for them. So for them to be portrayed as a violent group associated with Malcolm X, associated with Magneto, is a big concern of mine. And so that's that. And I also am always concerned with post-apocalyptic stories. That's why I write Harlem Shake, because I want white people and all people, even black people, to see that in the post-apocalypse, like we're looking at a post-hurricane apocalypse now in the Bahamas. People aren't robbing each other and raping each other. You don't need a gun. They're building each other's houses. They're coming together as family. I want people to see that that's what happens in a post-apocalyptic event. This Negan type, shit in Walking Dead, that's not reality. That is a bad dream. Okay, now do things happen that's good or bad? Probably, but I'm pretty sure in the post-apocalyptic experiences that I've undergone, Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Wilma, blackouts, neighborhoods come together. They drop those boundaries. They drop those, oh, it's my food, it's my power, blah, blah, blah. Now, maybe in extreme long-term desperation, yeah, it may get a little colorful, but I don't think so. I think even in those experiences, people will, will die together and survive together. All right. But anyway, that's that. I talked a lot and I'm at this place, so I got to go inside. Sorry, it's only short, but it's good. It's all Jeff. All right. Peace.